When we come into a spiritual circle or we go into nice nature for just to nourish or to heal ourselves, to restore our zen, our calm, or we do it through a retreat, we actually bring wisdom with us, right? We bring our heart into it, not just our minds, because our minds can judge experiences, it can have hopes and expectations, but our hearts actually know why we're there. We know what's important for us. We know what we want to feel and we express it from our hearts, which is usually like being open, let's be less judgy, have a sense of curiosity and look what can be done in that situation. Is there something that we can change, or is it something that we just accept and open up what's needed to flow from outside into ourselves, in the environment that we find ourselves in. And when you think about work, for example, right? A lot of people have stress at work or facing certain situations that we don't like, right? If you can actually compare, you can look, see when we walk into each Wednesday session, it's going to be very different. Sometimes there's a check-in, sometimes there's no check-in, sometimes there's visualization, sometimes it's just plain old mindfulness. Sometimes there might be things that you might not be able to grasp immediately. Sometimes you just click, everything makes sense because you have been processing it. So whether we walk into work or we walk into a retreat in nature or in a monastery, isn't that the same thing? We know that there's nothing that we can truly control that's outside of us, because it's the same thing. If you look at it being outside of yourself, everything is a sense impression, correct? You see something, you hear something, whether it's the birds chirping away or it's people talking away, it's still a sensory input. But we place our perceptions and our judgments into these experiences. And that's actually what might cause us to forget about ourselves, forget about our hearts, because we're just working on the mental level. Like I said earlier, your heart actually knows how to make the best out of the situations that you find yourself in. To know that, you can't change much. And that is actually the wisdom within your own heart. So in fact, walking into these sessions and walking into work, for example, it's actually not that different. Another thing is that we don't, we hang out together as spiritual friends, fellow meditator friends. We're practicing together, we're sharing together, correct? But if you think about your co-workers, for example, how many of them actually have seen this side of you? Not all, right? I'm sure. So which also means to say that there could be a side of them that is like you, just like yourself. But the environment doesn't allow it to come up. And that's why in those environments, you don't bloom, you don't flower as well. But those are important because work is a part of life. You need to do something, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that perhaps we can learn to bring in that same kind of openness into those situations, so that you can remember your place in those situations. At least that's how I've been practicing. After descending the mountain, I live in many different communities. So when I see a fellow human being, and I choose to see that person as a fellow human being, regardless of the kind of relationship that we have, even if it's going to be work or stakeholder, I don't care about that. I just care about this person is also a human being. This person might have happiness. This person has hopes. This person has suffering as well. And when this person says something, it could be coming from suffering. And I then tell myself, okay, I will learn to understand that. Because when I learn to understand that, I go beyond judging. Because judging, the first thing it does is that it harms our own minds, and it causes us to react in a way that we might not want to be. So it becomes a lot of doing instead of learning how to be in that moment with that sense of openness, acceptance, and knowing that you do have a certain degree of power over there. And it's actually power over your own mind to prevent it from leaking out and meddling with different kind of perceptions, leading to different kind of emotions. So as Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh said before, that every time we enter a retreat, we are not running away from society, but we are learning how to re-enter society. And that's why our Wednesday sessions is also nicknamed as the midweek reset, where we come together, we share, we practice, we nourish one another in order to simply re-enter society. And when we talk about re-entering society, what does that actually mean? It actually means that you bring a different sense of being after meditating, and you bring a new renewed sense back into the world, which means that you can remind yourself, how do you come into this session? How do you go to a vacation? And this is how you're going to continue into day-to-day life. And that's where a lot of transformation can happen, because you're beginning to bring your own heart, your own expression into those interactions, especially interactions where you might not really like, right? Which are highly uncertain. Just like going to a retreat with a very weird schedule, or going on a vacation and something screwed up along the way. Right? But because you're in vacation or retreat mode, you could embrace it, which means that wisdom, the kind of understanding, that fundamental understanding of how to be in each situation that can restore your calm and that can continue to allow you to learn and make the best out of the situation, it is already within yourself. So in every meditation, every vacation, every retreat that we're going to, it is simply to remind us about that presence that we have within ourselves. That's why you're in that vacation retreat mode. You're kind of churning that wheel nonstop, right? That process, the mental process, that or attitude or the expression. So we don't want to forget that when we bring ourselves outside of the meditation cushion.